Good afternoon. You have reached Faith, Hope, Love 5047. Today's selection is The Rough Faced Girl. Okay. This book is a very good book for children up to third grade. Once long ago, there was a village by the shore of Lake Ontario. Off from the other wigwams of this village soon one great huge wigwam. Painted on its side were pictures of the sun, moon, star, plants, trees, and animals. And inside this wigwam there was said to live a very great, rich, powerful, and supposedly handsome invisible being. However, no one could see him except his sister, who lived there too. Many women wanted to marry this invisible being, but his sister said, only the one who can see him can marry him. This is how their house used to be. Now, in this village, there lived a poor man who had 3 daughters. The 2 older daughters were cruel and hard-hearted, and they made their youngest sister sit by the fire and free the flames. When the burning branches popped, the sparks fell on her. In time, her hands became burned and scarred. Her arms, too, became rough and scarred. Even her face was marked by the fire, and her beautiful, beautiful long hair hung tagged and charred. And those 2 older sisters laughed at her, saying, "Ha ha, you're so ugly, you rough-faced girl." And they made her life very lonely and miserable indeed. See how mean they were to their sister? You see her by the fire? Sad?
Is this one?
Yeah. She's the one that had to keep the fire going. One day, these older sisters went to their father and said, "Father, give us some necklaces. Give us some new buckskin dresses. Give us some pretty beaded moccasins. We're going to marry the invisible being." So their father gave them these things. Dressed in their finest, the 2 girls marched through the village. All the people pointed and stared. "Look at those beautiful girls," they said. "Surely they shall marry the invisible being." And if those 2 girls were proud and hard-hearted before, they were even prouder now. They walked haughtily through the village. At last they came to the wigwam of the invisible being, and there was his sister waiting.
Why is everyone hiding?
I think she's looking through a window. "Why have you come?" she asked. "We want to marry the invisible being." They answered, "That's why we're here." "If you want to marry my brother," she replied, "you have to have seen him. Tell me, have you seen the invisible being?" "Of course we've seen him," they insisted. "Can't you see how pretty we are? Can't you see the beautiful clothes we wear?" "Oh, yes, anyone can tell that we've truly seen the invisible being." "All right," she said quietly. "If you think you have seen him, then tell me, what is his bow made of?" And suddenly her voice, swift as lightning and strong as thunder. His bow? They stammered in surprise. His bow? We know. By turning desperately to one another, they whispered, "What shall we say?" "Let's say it's the oak tree." So they said, "It's the oak tree." "No," said the sister of the invisible being. "No, Oh, she saw at once how they lied. Tell me, she continued, if you think you've seen my brother, the invisible being, what is the runner of his sleigh made of? Oh, we know, cried the two sisters. But whispering feverishly against they wondered, what shall we say? What shall we say? Let's say it's a green willow branch. No, said the sister she heard. No, you have not seen my brother. Now go home. Just test us fairly, they exclaimed. We've seen him. Just don't ask us all these silly questions. Are the questions silly? No. Because that means the invisible being has, right? All right, said the sister of the invisible being. Come with me. And she took them back to the great wigwam and sat them in the seats furthest from the entrance to the guest seats. Soon they heard footsteps coming along the path. Then something stepped inside. Though they heard breathing, the two sisters still couldn't see a thing. Suddenly a great bow and a beaded quiver of arrows appeared in the air and were set down. Though those two girls sat there, their eyes wide. Could they still see them? All through that night, they never saw a thing more, and in the morning they had to go home ashamed. They couldn't see them, and they said they could.
They lied.
They did lie. The next day, the rough-faced girl went to her father and said, Father, may I please have some beads? May I please have a new buckskin dress and some pretty moccasins? I am going to marry the invisible being, for wherever I look, I see his face. But her father sighed. Oh, daughter, he said, I'm sorry. I have no beads left for you, only some little broken shell. I have no buckskin dress, and as far as moccasins, all I have left are my old, worn, cracked, stretched out pair from last year, and they're much too big. But she said, whatever you can spare, I can use. So he gave her these things. So he's giving her some stuff, but not new stuff. Her stuff is going to be broken and used and big because he gave all the stuff to the other two girls. Then she found dried reed and taking the little broken shell, she strung a necklace. She stripped birch bark from the dead trees and made a cap, a dress, and leggings. Then, with a sharp piece of bone, she carved in the bark pictures of the sun, moon, stars, plants, trees, and animals. She went down to the lake shore and soaked the moccasins in water until they grew soft. Then she molded them to her feet, but they were still too big and they flapped, flapped, flapped like duck feet as she walked. Then all the people came out of the wigwams. They pointed at and stared. Look at that ugly girl! Look at that strange clothes! Hey! 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 Go home, you ugly girl! You'll never marry the invisible being. Do you think she's gonna marry the invisible being? You don't think so? You think so? Let's see what happens. But the rough-faced girl had faith in herself. Faith in herself, that means you have to believe in yourself. Okay? That you can do it, even though everyone else thinks you cannot. The rough-faced girl had faith in herself and she had courage. Do you have courage? She didn't turn back. She kept walking right through the village.
It looks like
What do you see in this picture?
the rainbow.
What do you see? That's a rainbow?
Yeah.
And what do you see here?
A tree.
These two
bird.
here. Birds. Those two birds are eyes.
Oh.
The rainbow. And look at the mouth. You see a mouth? This is actually a face. You see that? See? As she walked on the side, as she walked on, she saw the heavy beauty of the earth and sky spreading before her. I think that's the invisible being. See that? It's beautiful. Look at this picture. And truly, she alone of all in that village saw in these things the sweet yet awesome face of the invisible being. At last she came to the lake shore, just as the sun was sinking behind the hills and the many stars came glittering out like very veil in the darkness sky overhead. And there, standing by the water edge, was the sister of the invisible being waiting. Now, the sister of the invisible being was a wise woman. When she looked at you, she didn't see just your face or your hair or your clothes. No. When she looked at you, she would look you right in the eyes and she could see all the way down your heart. And she could tell if you had a good, kind heart or a cold heart and cruel one. And she looked at the rough-faced girl and she saw at once that though her skin was scarred, her hair was burnt, her clothes were strange, and she had a beautiful, kind heart. And so she welcomed her dearly, saying, "Ah, my sister, why have you come?" And the rough-faced girl replied, "I have come to marry the invisible being." Ooh. "Ah," said the sister very gently, "if you want to marry him, you have to have seen him. Tell me, have you seen my brother, the invisible being?" And the rough-faced girl said, "Yes." "All right then," said the sister. "If you have seen him, tell me, what's his bow made out of?" And the rough-faced girl said, "His bow? Why, it is a great curve of the rainbow." That's his bow. So, does she see him? She does.
It looks like a. It looks like a. What is called?
Arch? Arch?
No. Army.
Mm. Look at this one. Can you see that picture?
Yeah.
In the sky? "Ah," exclaimed the sister in excitement. "Tell me," she said, "if you have seen my brother the invisible being, what's the runner of his shield made out of?" And the rough-faced girl, looking up into the night sky, said, "The runner of his sled? Why, it is the spirit road, the Milky Way of stars that spreads across the sky." "Ah," cried the sister in wonder and delight, "you have seen him! Come with me!" And taking the rough-faced girl by the hand, she led her back to the great wigwam and sat her in the seat next to the entrance, the wife's seat. Then they heard footsteps coming along the path, closer and closer. The entrance flap of the wigwam lifted up, and in stepped the invisible being. And when he saw her sitting there, he said, "At last we have been found." Then, smiling kindly, he added, "And oh, my sister, but she is beautiful." And the sister said, "Yes, he likes her. I think she's beautiful." The sister of the invisible being then gave the rough-faced girl the finest of buskin, new dress, a robe, and a necklace of perfect shells. "Now bathe in the lake," she said, "and dressed in these." She got to take a shower, and her skin changed. It's not burned anymore. It made her skin all better. So the rough-faced girl bathed in the waters of the lake. Suddenly all the scars vanished from her body. Her skin grew smooth again, and her beautiful black hair grew in long and glossy as raven wings. Now anyone could see that she indeed beautiful, but the invisible being and his sister had seen that from the start. See how beautiful she really is? Yes, that's her. All the mean stuff that she got in her body went away. All the stuff, the mean stuff that the sisters did. Then at last the rough-faced girl and the invisible being were married. They lived together in the great gladness and were never parted. That means they lived happily ever after. That's her, and that's the invisible being. She can see them. It's just the other people couldn't.
Because they were blind.
This was I really like the story. Um, I actually used it in third grade to teach a lesson. Um, if you enjoyed it, please hit the like button, subscribe. I'll be reading more stories as we go along. God bless you. Have a beautiful day.